I had a chance to watch game film since VCU. I'll start with that like normal. What did you see that you didn't know when I talked to you after the game?
I don't know that there's any revelations relative to what we felt. There's always a few things that you thought was somebody's fault and it was actually somebody else's, or different things like that. But no, I thought we kind of talked about the majority of it. It was pretty good outside of some turnover stuff. Like I thought it was pretty good offensive performance against a good defensive team. We got to do a better job on the backboards and the glass. Need to control the ball better, especially early in the game. They got everything in the paint. Real depth on the drive. Like I thought that was a big difference in the second half. They're still going to drive the basketball, but we're able to kind of get there earlier, less depth, a little less rotation, and that gives you a better chance on some of the plays once you get it stopped. So, but really, I thought our guys played with a lot of toughness, a lot of competitiveness. I think that can really help you overcome some mistakes when because you're never going to be perfect in the game.
You guys, I mean, you mentioned one of the things that you guys still need to work on is the boards and the glass, and it is something that I thought in the first half really bit you guys. You guys gave up 7 offensive rebounds in the second half, but only 4 second chance points, and it's something that Phil Martelli brought up in his post game, that they didn't get nearly enough second chance points out of that. Is there anything to that? I mean, if you're giving them the second opportunity, I know you don't want that because that's just another possession for them. But is there something to the fact that you guys were successful in them getting those boards but not converting them into buckets?
My initial reaction when you ask that question is back to sort of the depth on the drive. Like I felt like specifically in the first half, they had a couple easy ones on the putbacks. Several of those they got so much depth on their penetration where we're coming over to help. They're still shooting it out of our help. So now we're in rotation, and the offensive rebound is like tip in, point blank layup on the putback, versus when in the second half, there was fewer of those instances where they get so much depth that they feel like they should shoot the basketball as our help is coming. So if we can get there and they have to pass it out of that and then shoot it, and we're closer to 5-on-5, then there's still going to be some long rebounds. You're never going to be perfect on the glass, but it's like, what position are they in when they get the rebound? Again, just like shot selection or whatever, not all rebounds are created equal in terms of the opportunity to score again. I felt like a lot of that was a result of the depth they were getting on their penetration, where the ball was getting for a lot of the shots.
And we talked about this too, Thomas. On the stat sheet, he still had his 11 points, but certainly rebounding. I thought had one of his stat sheet-wise worst games, but then had the big play at the end. What were they able to do, though, that was able to keep him off the board? Was it just foul trouble? Was there something else going on that he only had 2 rebounds until that final play?
There's some coverage things in that too. We switched a little more, and so anytime we switch with him, he's around the basket less. So then you have some sort of matchup rebounds that occur, and so there's always a trade-off with all those decisions, right? Like, if we switch, we have a chance to control that penetration like we talked about, but if we don't switch, then we have a better chance on the glass relative. So it's kind of a every decision like that has a little give and take, and you got to make kind of assess where you feel like the right place to go is.
Personnel wise, I haven't asked about him in a few games, but he hasn't played in several games. To Javis, is there anything going on with Javis? Is he just kind of falling down with rotation right now, or is there anything else going on with him not playing?
No, just rotation, normal rotational stuff.
And then the 2 road environments, the 2 true road games, not the neutral court games. Although the Nebraska neutral court game, they had quite a few fans there too. How well do you think that prepared you for the Mountain West? I know you're not familiar with the Mountain West entirely yet, but you have an idea of what's coming. So to have VCU and New Mexico State both not just being true road games, but the environments that they were, how satisfied are you with the fact that you guys were in 2 really good games on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously we're not done with the non-conference, and we're focused on Florida Gulf Coast, but like just relative to environments that we're going to be in, I think being in some of those difficult ones, you hope prepares you for what's coming. Obviously, you get into conference play, and sort of level goes up, everybody familiarity goes up. all those things. So it's a combination of environment and teams and, preparation. But I think our non-conference in a lot of ways has prepared us for the league. At least that's my hope.
So I know that you guys self-evaluate constantly, every day after practice, after every game and stuff like that. But do you have bigger picture self-evaluation stuff, like end of non-conference where you guys are at?
No, I don't think we think about it that way. It's a little more kind of granular on the day to day and trying to improve. So no, I don't really think this is where we want to be at this stage or halfway through the conference or, we have a more kind of day to day approach to that, I think.
That kind of answers my next question. I was curious if there's one thing that you kind of wanted to tune up before you get to conference and use Florida Gulf Coast as an opportunity to address that area.
No, I mean, we have some things that we're not doing well. We talked about the rebounding. Our last 3 Division I games, we're giving up over 40% defensive rebound rate. That's not winning basketball. We've had good results in spite of that, but if we don't correct it, we're not going to continue to have the results that we want. So I don't think we've taken care of the ball the way we need to. So there's some things that we were doing well early, or at least at times, and maybe we haven't done as well in the last few, but we've made progress in other areas, and maybe that covers some things up. So that's kind of why we always just talk about just kind of the general approach to improving all the time, because it's a constant process. And you have a really good week, you beat 2 really good teams, we played really well. I don't want to take away from those performances because the guys were fantastic in those games. But we don't have it all figured out. You know what I mean? We're one possession games that we were in, they can go either way, right? A couple bounces here and there and that game goes the other way. And we feel totally differently about ourselves as a team, And so the reality is always somewhere in between how you feel when you win and you lose. And I think we have to, you have to have enough confidence to stick to the plan when things aren't going well, and you have to have enough humility when they are to, evaluate what you're not actually doing well and be, and still be hungry to get better and not feel like you've made it. So that's our thing, is just continuing to focus on the same stuff regardless of the results, so that we just keep getting better.
And then I know you're kind of just starting to get into them a little bit, but can you just speak on what you're seeing out of Florida Gulf Coast?
Yeah, good basketball team, well coached. Two really good guards. Bruno and Ellerby are dynamic. Bruno makes a lot of plays for other people. I think he's averaging 6 assists a game, which is a big number in college basketball. Ellerby's a freshman, but he had 40-something in a game. So he can really score. He's been super efficient on pretty good volume. So those 2 guys, 20, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, but he's another good player. They got some dynamic guys in the front court. I think they're a good team. They've been a little up and down with their results, but talented basketball team, and certainly going to test us in several ways, including the offensive glass. I think they're top 60 in offensive rebounding.
Coach, the Lobos have won 5 in a row. Last game of the non-conference schedule. How do you make sure your team is locked in and doesn't overlook Florida Gulf Coast?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really just about trying to, compete all the time, keep getting better. We have to understand that, just because we had a good week, that doesn't mean that the next team that comes in is just going to roll over or not compete. I think we saw that a couple weeks ago. If we're not ready to go, we're down 15 to Alabama State at the half and not playing the way we want to play. For us, our responsibility is to play good basketball, and we can't worry about the opponent or any other external factor. We have to focus on the things we can control and do a good job.
Coach, you mentioned the physicality and the rebounds, and sometimes you need to improve in that area. But does the continued development of JT Rock coming off the bench, he's plus 18 off of the bench, and giving you some good minutes? He's still developing. He's 7-1, man. Does his continued development give you hope that in late, that you're going to be able to get more rebounds and not have the minus things you did on the offensive boards? Does his continued development give you hope for that?
Yeah, I think there's hope for that. But and JT's playing great basketball, but JT's also someone who can do a better job on the defensive glass, right? It's everybody across the board. I think JT's impacting the offensive glass a little more than he is the defensive glass right now. But, he is doing a good job. We are playing really well when he's on the floor, so we feel good about his, kind of direction. But no one player is going to sort of solve our issues in that area. That has to be a collective improvement.
Is there any possibility of JT and Thomasoff playing on the floor together?
They're capable of that. We've seen that in practice a little bit. We have not done that in a game, but I wouldn't say yet. I think that it's possible.
What does that give you guys? Obviously, size and rebounding and stuff like that. What is the benefit of that? But what is also maybe the drawback? Is the drawback just the depth that you don't want them both getting in foul trouble kind of thing, or?
I think it's going to be matchup dependent in terms of how we guard the ball, what we do in other areas, defensive scheme, making sure we're sort of have the reps to be competent in certain other aspects of the coverages or defensive execution. There's a little more rotations that we're in with a little bigger lineup. Maybe when we're aggressive and we rotate out of it, making sure that we can still do that at a high level. So there's a give and take with all those decisions.
And I just don't know how many reps Thomasoff gets at the 4. I guess you guys still have to. I know you guys are a little bit more positionless than a lot of teams, but there's still some understanding he has to have at another position. Would he be ready to do that? Does he know that position well enough to do that if he had to?
Yeah, he's capable of doing it for sure. The level of execution that we would have would be a little bit of a question, but I think he could do it, yeah.
Another combo of 2 players that I thought looked good again on Wednesday night was Uriah and Dayton playing together again. Can you help me kind of understand exactly what that does? Is it just about the speed and the ball pressure, or what is it that those 2 guys on the floor together seem to kind of put an opposing team in a tough spot?
Yeah, I do think it's, they both have a lot of juice off the bounce. So that's hard, defensively for teams. I think specifically when Dayton puts pressure on the rim, he draws so much attention. When he sprays it out, there's longer closeouts. There's a little more space. If that lands on someone like Uriah, who's equally, explosive off the bounce, then you can kind of amplify some of that advantage a little more. They both really do a good job guarding the ball. So I think it's really just they're good players, and anytime good players play together, that usually works out pretty well.
All right, and then you are 38-7 now over your last 45 games, and there are national guys pointing that out. And it's not that you weren't known by a lot of these national guys a year ago, but 38-7 over 45 games was the fourth best win percentage since the beginning of last year. And it seems like you got this thing figured out, right? You got the coaching thing figured out. I am curious how close to what that level of success, I guess, how close to where you guys are now. I know it's sort of what Brad asked about, where you want to be, but how close you are to what you want them to be at in terms of this level of success that you've kind of sustained now for a 45-game period. This team still has how much growth to get to where you expect them to be.
Yeah, stats are fun. I like numbers, but none of that matters, right? Like what happened last year, right? A huge percentage of those numbers are a different place, a different time, have no relevance on what we're doing. We're just focused on getting better. And I think that this team has a lot of room to improve. Not thinking about record or any of that, just where we are relative to where, how much the difference between what we're capable of and how we're performing, right? That gap is what we're trying to close. And I think it's still we've made some progress in there for sure. But I think our ceiling's very high. I have high expectations for our group. And I think we have a long way to go in terms of getting there, which is encouraging, right? Because we are getting some good results. We're playing some good basketball. And I think we can still really improve.
Jake told me after the game at halftime you had some inspiring words, were his words, but he didn't want to repeat what those inspiring words were. What was your message, if you can repeat it, but what was your message in general to the team?
Yeah, well, I think I'll keep what I said with the team in the locker room there. But it was just we weren't handling our business on the floor in terms of hustle plays and those kind of things. And so I said what I thought I needed to say, and hopefully it resonated with the guys. And I think we came out in the second half, whether it was a little bit of what I had to say, or just the team understanding the opportunity we had and attacking a little harder in the second half.
I'm curious if that's something you've done a lot this year.
No, I haven't really had to. I think early on, some of our struggles were because we hadn't played together. It wasn't necessarily effort or whatever. And then Santa Clara, we came out and we dominated that game, so there was no need there. And then this game, I think we were so close in the first half, but there was just little things here and there that we weren't handling. And so just bringing light to those certain circumstances. And, yeah, we responded well in the second half, so it was good.
And you guys are 8-2, so it isn't like there's been huge struggles or anything like that. But you have seen the growth from this team. From, like you just said, you guys hadn't played a lot together early on, so it wasn't like you were jumping in to tell people to get the effort plays up and stuff like that. But the growth you've seen, is this what you expected? I know you, as a veteran, you were kind of expecting this to come along maybe more than the younger guys. But is this what you expected as non-conference comes to a close?
Yeah, and I think I expected growth. I still expect a lot of growth from this team. So that's what's really exciting is like we came into the season knowing that there's going to be some struggles. We've never played together before. Most of us haven't played for Coach Owen before, but seeing this growth and knowing that it should continue to grow, and we should continue to get better is what's exciting for this team.
And then to win a true road game like that against a team like VCU, I'm curious how much validation this team needed, maybe you personally, but maybe the team as a whole. Like, you guys may be believing that you guys are growing into something like you want to become, but if you don't get those wins, like if you guys lost that game the other night, you wouldn't have had that validation. Do you think that maybe some guys on this team need that validation and need to see that you guys are winning to sort of believe it?
I think validation is always great, just to understand that the process is working. But ultimately, how we handle it as a team, individually, how I handle it is you focus on the process, not the result. So if we would have lost that game, we would have gone back and looked at the film the same way we would have gone back and looked at it now that we've won. And I think ultimately that's a sign of a great team and great players, is just focusing on what you can handle and what you can control.
So I know obviously you've never played in the Mountain West before, but with Sunday being your last non-conference game, can you just speak on where the team is closing out the non-conference, like how ready you guys are to start, attacking conference play?
Yeah, I think having 2 good wins to end non-conference is huge for our momentum going in. And then I think we're really excited for this next phase. The pit's going to be rocking, I heard, during conference, so we're all super excited about that. And just ready to keep going with the season and keep proving what we can do.
And then obviously, top priority is no matter what, win the game on Sunday, do whatever it takes to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, how much of a feeling is there, I guess, of, hey, we need to tune up this aspect of our game, or we need to tweak this before we get into conference?
I think we'll look at what we need to fix today in film. It's never really like we're focused on fixing certain things for certain teams. It's like, what do we need to do to get better as a team? We know things we're good at, things we're not so good at. So just making sure we keep getting better at those aspects is kind of our main focus.
And then can you just speak on Florida Gulf Coast a little bit, kind of what you're seeing out of them?
Well, we'll look at them today a little bit. We've gotten sent some actions. They're a good team. Every team we're going to play is a good team. They're Division I basketball players, so we can't take anybody lightly. And like I said, we'll look at them today and tomorrow and get ready to go.
Before the game last week against Santa Clara, the VCU, two physical teams, and maybe there was questions about New Mexico's physicality being known as a soft 3-point shooting team. You answered the call against Santa Clara and VCU on the road. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for this is a team that say, you mentioned, you said some words in the locker room. All of a sudden, the physical presence when you needed a rebound, you got one from holding on at the end. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the team?
Yeah, being physical and playing with effort isn't it's effort. Like I said, it's not anybody can be physical, anybody can play aggressive. I think I saw Mick Cronin talk about it. Rebounding is 100% effort. And that's so true. Like, I don't think any team is soft. I think it's a soft mindset. And if we come in the game knowing that we're going to have to punch first and be aggressive, we can do that any game we play in.
JT Rock has been a very positive influence on the court the last 2 games. What's his development meant to this team?
It's huge. JT's a super talented player, and we're starting to see some glimpses of what he can do on the floor. And so just having him continue to be confident, making the right decision, keeping it simple is going to be awesome for our team.
Uriah's a guy I wanted to ask about a little bit. Jake's getting attention because of his scoring.
Mm.
Uriah's scoring too. Like if there wasn't a Jake Hall on this team, Uriah would be the freshman a lot of people are talking about. But his presence, especially with him and Dayton on the floor together, have really brought out positive minutes. I'm curious what you see every day in practice from Uriah Tennant and sort of if you're surprised at all that he's had the success he's had.
Well, no, I'm not surprised at all. From the first day he's gotten here, he's shown us that he's a really good basketball player on both sides of the floor. And him and Dayton, the two guys, they kind of start our aggressiveness. They pick up on the ball, they get steals, they pressure, they allow everybody else to play free. So yeah, super impressed with what Uriah has done. Not only him being a freshman, but just like even if he wasn't a freshman, what he's done this year has been incredible for our team.
All right, you guys don't win the other night without you and JT putting up the plus minus stretches you guys did, and I know like Tomislav had statistically his worst game. He had the big play at the end, but JT coming in for him. But like your minutes, especially in that second half, were you guys aren't winning that game on the road without you, and I'm curious how much satisfaction you get personally. I know it's about the team, it's about all that stuff, but like that was in some ways probably maybe your best game. I don't know if you think it was or not, but it might have been your best game in a lot of ways because of the minutes you provided. How much personal satisfaction you have from Wednesday's win?
Anytime we win a game, I'm super happy, whether I play bad or play good. So ultimately, being able to impact the game in a winning way is what I do. It's why the coaches brought me here. And so just knowing that I was able to do that and we got a huge win for our resume on the road is all that really matters for me.